Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Chloe and I am the coordinator of events at Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand are part of the Info Exchange Group, and we're a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges through the smart and creative use of technology. Now, for those of you who haven't attended a webinar session with us before, Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand facilitate an annual training calendar of online webinars, workshops, boot camps, and webcons to help the social sector upskill in all things digital. So from learning how to effectively work in Office 365 to creating a digital marketing or social media plan, or advancing your budget and reporting skills using intelligent software solutions such as Calxa or MyOb, we update our training calendar monthly with a variety of free and paid for sessions. So if you're interested in attending more sessions with us, check out our training and education menu on our website for more events coming up online in the future. That's enough about me today. I'm really excited to welcome you today to the webinar, The Future of Volunteering is Online, and that's with Matt Boyd, who is the CEO of Volley. Volley specialises in understanding the changing motivations of Gen Y and Gen Z and working with charities to help articulate their needs. Volley is a platform dedicated to working with charities and not-for-profits for the purpose of helping them find skilled volunteers in an online capacity. So I'm really excited to hear more about today how we can attract and manage volunteers online from Matt. But before we begin, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted, so if you have any technical issues, please type it into the questions box, which is on your webinar panel, and I'll be able to assist you. And if you also have any questions during the session, please also type it into the questions box, and Matt will answer them at the end of the session today in the Q&A. So please keep your questions coming throughout the session as well. Note that those questions and comments will not be visible to the entire group, just to me. If you're on a Wi-Fi connection and have multiple programs open, this can sometimes also affect the quality of the audio and video of the webinar. So if possible, please close all other programs and all other internet tabs to ensure you have the best experience possible today. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording and the slides will be sent to you as soon after this webinar ends as well. We'd also like to remind you that there will be a short survey at the end of this webinar today, and we'd really appreciate if you could complete that and leave us with some of your feedback. So that's all from me today. I'm going to pass it over to Matt, and I hope you all enjoy the session today. Thanks, Matt. I'll let you get things started.
Thanks, Chloe. Thank you, everyone, for attending. It's great to be part of this webinar. This is the second or third that I've done with Connecting Up. A huge fan of what they do and the way in which they work with the charity and not-for-profit sector. So a little bit about me, first of all. Why are you listening to this particular person? What does he have to say? What's his background all about? Well, I've had a real lived experience through volunteering, which has ultimately led me to push the boundaries with volunteering and do things a bit differently, which we'll talk about more as this webinar progresses. Basically, in 2015, I was in my fourth career role and I wasn't feeling particularly fulfilled, and I turned to volunteering as a way to use my skills and my time to make a difference with really what I thought was organizations that are actually doing something meaningful. I had worked for big advertising agencies who had big car manufacturing clients and organizations that made a lot of money, and essentially it just filtered to the people at the top. And I'd always been very passionate about wanting to make a difference, and I really felt like I hadn't done enough. And so I dove deep into the not-for-profit sector into volunteering, and that all began with becoming a pet therapist at the Royal Children's Hospital here in Melbourne, which involved me taking my dogs to visit kids in wards and just try to brighten up their days. That was organised through the Lord Smith Animal Hospital, and really, really great experience. From there, I started to work at animal sanctuaries, essentially scooping chicken poop and being a farmhand and whatever they really needed. And then I started to work with mental health organisations turning up and helping them fundraise on the day and so on. And a lot of it was the physical volunteering, the traditional volunteering that many people know about. But I started to ask myself the question, how can I really apply my skills to support these organizations that I care so much about? Because I really did find it difficult to identify that pathway. Sometimes I would be standing in front of the CEO of this charity or even the founder and saying to them, I have marketing skills, I've got business development skills, how can I support your organization? And it was hard to be able to do this. And so at this time in my life, I had a job in an organization with around 500 people in the company, and they're all highly skilled, and they're seeing me volunteer, and they're coming up to me on Monday morning or throughout the week saying, how can I get involved in volunteering? And I started to have this realization that, well, there are tens of thousands of purpose-driven organizations that want to engage modern day professionals. And there are a lot of modern day professionals who want to connect with these organizations. But the problem is that these two groups don't connect enough. It was true then in 2015, and it's as true now in 2020. And so this really led me down this journey and this rabbit hole, and I started to attend not-for-profit conferences and volunteering conferences to understand, well, what's going on within this sector. And what was said in Canberra at the National Volunteering Conference in 2016 was that this sector and charities as a whole need to better innovate, need to better embrace technology, and thirdly, they need to engage today's and tomorrow's volunteer. And this really stuck with me, and this has stayed with me for quite a few years. And this will run through the theme of this webinar, because we really do need to innovate as a sector. We have needed to for years and years, and obviously with COVID, it's put dependent on the organisation, but we are in a more challenging space. It may be do or die. It may just be a case of, well, systems, processes need to evolve. It's very much my belief that technology can play a pivotal role for this sector moving forward, and that then comes into what this session is all about, very specifically around volunteering, better engaging online volunteers, which will always be skills based, to help our organisations remain sustainable, evolve, help us to identify new revenue streams, and grow into the future. So a little bit of an introduction about me there. We're going to kick off with a poll, which Chloe is going to very kindly run. So the first question that I have for you all is, has your organisation engaged with online volunteers previously? And the options are there. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for no, but I'm interested to learn more, and 4 for no, and I'm not really interested.
Wonderful. Sorry, I was just having some technical issues there, Matt. I will launch this now. So here's the poll. Has your organisation engaged in volunteers previously? If people would like to respond. Lovely. We'll just give people a couple more seconds there. Wonderful. Great. So the results are 26% say yes, they have engaged online volunteers previously. 9% say no, and 65% say no, but I'm interested in learning more. And no one says, I'm not really sure why I'm here. So that's great to see.
Good, because I did throw that fourth one in just to catch anybody out, because that's what this session's all about, so you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen again, Chloe, after we did that poll, or I think
if you just pop it back up again. Yeah. No, I can. Perfect.
Great. So that's a good sort of spread of answers. I think, you know, decent percentage, around 1 in 4 have utilised online volunteers before. A larger percentage haven't, and a whole lot of us, well, I think almost everybody that said no, but has said that they're interested in learning more. So that is great to hear, and that is what this session is all about. Okay. Second thing I'd love to learn from you all. So what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the not-for-profit sector? And again, the options are there available in front of you. So is it a lack of innovation within the sector, which is the biggest challenge? Is it a need to better embrace technology? Is it better communication with the modern day workforce and with those we are speaking about Gen Y and Gen Z, or is it something completely different?
Wonderful. So I'll just give people a couple more seconds to respond to that one. Wonderful. And so the results are in. We've got 9% say they see that lack of innovation is the biggest challenge. Kind of even spread between the need to better embrace technology and better connection to modern day volunteers with 30 and 39%. And 21% say other. They have other ideas.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Please, for those that did select other, if that can come in the form of a question later towards the end of this session, that'd be great because I'd love to learn from you around what you think those other major challenges are. But we will talk more about that in a short while. Okay, so the agenda for this webinar. So we're of course going to be talking about online volunteering and what I believe to be the source of this opportunity and also this desire for more and more people to volunteer online. I believe it comes from the modern day workforce. It also comes from the changing priorities of businesses, and we're going to look into that in a bit of detail. We're going to draw on some industry insights so that you all know that it's not just me sharing these thoughts and opinions. It is backed by some pretty significant research. And then I'm going to talk a bit about Volley, the organisation that I've been growing for the last 4 years, how we've performed and what we've learned, and then we'll go into questions at the end. I'll try to keep my part of this session to around 30 minutes and allow lots of time for questions because I find that there's often quite a few questions that come at the end, and there can be some great discussion there. So to engage today's and tomorrow's workforce, I believe that we need to move from volunteering looking more transactional and something to be more transformative. And what I mean from that is, and this is a lived experience for myself again, it's really not a case of the volunteer just turning up, doing the job, ticking the box, so to speak, and then moving on. Modern day professionals are looking for more of a transformative experience in the way in which they volunteer. Now, many don't see volunteering as this. I speak to many people who love volunteering, but I also speak to many people who see volunteering as this thing that they're not quite sure if they want to do and they don't quite see what the benefit is for them. Now, when we think about the motivations of the modern day volunteer, it's the feel-good factor that they can get from volunteering as one of those main priorities. Absolutely. I don't think I need to speak to anyone on this call around the benefits of volunteering. We know this. We know that it can reduce stress levels. It can increase happiness. People sleep better when they're volunteering. Just generally that feeling happier from volunteering is very, very important. But in terms of the tangible outcomes for the individual, what can it do for their career? The career progression that can come from volunteering is really important, particularly to modern day professionals. If we're thinking about Gen Z, they're in university, they're coming out, it's a highly competitive market. They want to have something on their CV or on their LinkedIn profile even that really helps them to stand out. Volunteering, skilled volunteering can make a major impact in helping somebody achieve that next career role that they're looking for, or perhaps even their first. Another major benefit for individuals to come out of a meaningful volunteering experience is the professional connections that can come from that. And when we're talking about young professionals, university students, for example, who a typical internship dare we say, looks like, you know, doing the coffee runs or copying on behalf of their particular manager in that role. When these people are carrying out skilled volunteering opportunities with organizations like yours, typically they're working with leaders within the business, and they're working on much more meaningful tasks which can make a real difference to your organization. Because the fact is, we look at university students, they're highly skilled, they're hungry, they're ready to go, and they can make a serious impact with organizations like yours, given the opportunity. So it's about the career progression for the individual as well as the feel-good factor, and we need to keep this in mind with the way in which we engage volunteers these days. The age of purpose is well and truly here, and this really applies to businesses but also universities. Modern day professionals, young people, they want more from the business that they work at, or even the university that they go to. They want to see that organization showcasing a purpose beyond just making a profit, or beyond just providing the courses that a typical university would. For organizations, for businesses these days, they have to showcase this in order to attract the best people and to also retain their talent, because staff turnover is an incredibly expensive exercise for businesses. And they know these days that not only does their organization need to have a great culture, and we're not just about talking about fun, colorful painted walls and a barista on site. It's about speaking to that person on a level beyond just them carrying out their task. And for more and more professionals these days, it's about being able to make a positive difference. If they're able to do that in their full-time role as a marketing manager or as a salesperson, it's gonna keep them in that business for a longer period of time, and that positively impacts the business's bottom line. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more and sharing some statistics around this, but this presents a huge opportunity to better engage businesses to really support your organization. So talking a little bit more around how modern day professionals want to change the world, there is that huge emphasis on social impact, and we are seeing this. We're seeing this in the way that people are purchasing products at the supermarket, like Thank You Water or Who Gives a Crap toilet paper. They want to purchase items that they know are going to make a positive difference. At the same time, they want to work for organizations where they can change the world in their own particular way. This is really seeing a shift in the priorities of the modern day workforce. So typically in past years, what I get paid at an organization really has been top of that list. But that priority is shifting down to around 6th or 7th on the list. This is being heavily driven by Gen Z. It's been slowly growing with Gen Y, but with Gen Z, I go to a lot of universities, I speak to a lot of these young people, I speak at career fairs and so on. What they get paid is a side note to working for a business where they feel aligned. The person they are and what that organization stands for is aligned, and also the ability to make a positive impact. Right now in 2020, 60% of the global workforce is made up of Gen Y and Gen Z. So 35% of the global workforce is now made up of Gen Y, 25% is made up of Gen Z. These generations are taking over, and as they take over, the way that businesses run is changing forever. So the opportunity for your not-for-profit organisation with businesses and applying this to volunteering, when we speak about these businesses, and I've mentioned this a little bit already, why is it beneficial to them to engage charities and not-for-profits and run a really effective volunteering program? Not just a box ticking exercise, not just we'll turn up for the day, we'll take a photo, everybody wears the t-shirt with our logo on to show that we're doing well, but something deeply integrated into the operations of that business and what they stand for as an organization? Well, for that business, it's about recruiting the best talent, as I've spoken about a little bit already. It's about retaining their staff. It's fantastic for their client relationships, for those perceptions and expectations that existing and prospective clients would have about the business. And it plays really nicely into their marketing as well. They can proudly promote their alignment with your charity or not-for-profit through their social media channels, in their EDMs, and so on, so that they can talk about something other than their core offering as a business. For the individual, for the staff member or the student at a university, they feel more empowered if they're able to volunteer in a way that aligns with what's in their head and what's in their heart while they're working at that particular bank or that particular insurance company. They can have more pride in their work as a result of this. There's professional development that can come from volunteering, and of course this is more specifically skills-based volunteering, but even not so much skills-based, but even just turning up to volunteer, there is still development there in terms of team building or leadership or whatever that might be. The individual is more decisive about their retention with that business if they are able to be part of a meaningful volunteering program. And also they're more likely to recommend that business, which of course business would find highly beneficial. So if we look a little bit more at the correlation between skills-based volunteering particularly and employee satisfaction. So this study was done by Accenture a few years ago, and the sources at the bottom, and as Chloe mentioned, you'll receive all of these slides. So following skilled volunteering, what does that mean for an employee within their organization? Well, 87% of volunteers report an improved perception of their business following this experience. That's a huge number, and when businesses hear about this, they're more likely to run these volunteering programs because they see how that impacts their bottom line. 89% have expressed an increased satisfaction, overall satisfaction in their role following volunteering. And 76% said that they developed core skills through volunteering, and they bring this back to the business. They perform better in their role, and again, these businesses see the benefit in that. So let's think a little bit more about this on-demand age in which we live and this age of convenience. We all know that people's attention spans are on the decline. We used to have 8 or 9 seconds of somebody's attention before they bounced off of a particular website or just stopped paying attention to whatever message or communication you had. That's come down to around 3 or 4 seconds now, and we really need to engage people very, very quickly and get to the heart of what it is they want to do and how they want to get involved. We live in an age of personal drivers who turn up outside our house in a matter of minutes and food delivered to our doorstep in next to no time. People want a solution these days where, and when we apply this specifically to volunteering, I want to get involved. I want to make a difference. They want to get started. They want to find an opportunity and be able to apply and get started for that opportunity as soon as possible. So the volunteering rate in Australia is still far lower than I personally believe it should be, and I'm sure most people on this webinar would agree. It's still sitting at around 20%, just below 20%. And this is despite the fact that people want to make a positive difference. They want to change the world. We see that. We've seen that with numerous marches and protests that have gripped the world in recent years. And of course, right now, we're seeing that as well with another very important cause. People want to make a difference. But when prior to starting my organization, Volley, was speaking to people who wanted to volunteer and asked them, why haven't you gotten started? You want to make a difference, you want to volunteer, get involved. Many, many people aren't because they don't know how to get started. They don't know where to go. They're overwhelmed by the fact there's 56,000 registered charities in this country and hundreds of thousands of not-for-profits. There's the procrastination around, well, I will get started one day, I will get into this. The fact of the matter is it can sometimes be very difficult to get started with volunteering. And it is my belief that there are too many barriers to entry as well. We need to make it as quick and easy as possible for these young, well, just generally hungry, ambitious volunteers of any age to get started and start supporting our organisation. Because when there are too many forms to fill out, back and forthing, people can lose interest very quickly. So what I'm trying to say by all of this is that within this on-demand age, we have to make volunteering as quick and easy as possible, allowing people to get started really promptly when they are at their most hungry to get involved. So when we're talking about the volunteers and why they're not getting started, just to go into that in a little bit more detail. So reasons they will give for not volunteering. Well, I have limited time. I don't have enough time. Well, we can work around that. And even if there's a 20, 30-hour project that we require somebody to complete over the next 4 to 6 weeks, people can find that time. They just haven't had it presented in such a way that it makes sense to them. Modern day professionals will say there's a lack of flexibility with traditional volunteering. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more detail in a few slides' time, but these ongoing volunteering opportunities, keeping volunteers for a longer period of time, whether it's 6, 8, maybe 12 months, it can be a deterrent to them. Some volunteers like it, but from my experience and having spoken to thousands of volunteers over the last few years, if we give them a clear requirement, a project-based task, it might be to run a fundraising campaign for the next 3 months. It might be to build our new website. It might be something smaller or to create us a logo. But they are accountable for that particular task. And what we've learned through the gig economy and through organizations like Uber, or even through freelancing sites like Upwork, when people are given a specific task to complete, and that is all they're required to do, they are more likely to complete that to a high standard, rather than just keeping a marketing volunteer involved and just having them do various tasks over the next 6, 9, 12 months. Give them a requirement for your organization that you know is going to make a really meaningful difference. Here are the key responsibilities. These are the outcomes we want to see. This is the specific timing. We would like 40 hours of your time to complete this task by the end of August. People will complete that to a higher standard. Another thing that these volunteers these days are saying to me and my team is that they want to use their skills more. Now, obviously, through Volley, this is something they can do, but even coming out of the business world, a lot of businesses, a lot of CSR leaders, corporate social responsibility leaders are saying to me, and this has grown over the last 12 months particularly, but really I've seen it over the last 2 years, they're saying our staff want to use their skills more. It's great to turn up at the soup kitchen and carry out that day, or pack food boxes. That's great, team building and so on, but our staff want to use those skills that are unique to them. That's really important. When we just consider what businesses, what private businesses and universities want to achieve from a volunteering experience, they want to be able to scale their impact across a large staff base, find those really meaningful opportunities that speak to their staff's heads and also their hearts, and they want to be able to track their impact. Now, impact tracking is something that my team and I have spent a lot of time on through Volley, and we can do that, but maybe that applies to your organization as well. And how can you track that impact for a business that you're working with to strengthen the relationship that you have with them? Because I can assure you it's something they really want to see. So we're going to jump into poll 3 now. So do you consider your organisation to have a quick and easy onboarding process for your volunteers? Yes, no, or not sure?
Just give people a couple more seconds to respond to that one.
Sure thing.
Wonderful. Okay, so we've got 23% say yes, 61% say no, and 16% say not sure.
Okay, all right. Well, I really appreciate everyone's honesty. Let me just get my screen back up. A large percentage, so 23% was it, Chloe?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
23%.
23% say yes, 61% say no, and 16% say not sure.
Right. Okay. So 23%, yes, you've got a quick, easy onboarding process. I really appreciate the honesty of those that just say no. I'd love to discuss that in a little bit more detail with questions at the end, why you think that is. And then the remaining saying not sure, still a fairly high percentage of you. When you use various different technology solutions in this day and age, we see almost single sign-on or one-click sign up with Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or whatever it might be. That's great. But even if we need to collect that particular information from somebody, we really don't want them to have more than 2 screens worth of information to capture who they are, because we do still need, there's this whole thing around data these days and data privacy and GDPR, and there's been a lot of it, and people are very protective of the data that they give. But I also understand that your organizations, you need to collect particular data about somebody. You need their name, you need their email address, their phone number, and so on. But we can really speed up that information that we need to capture from the volunteers, from the skilled professionals that we want to align with our organization. But we can do it in a couple of minutes, and this is something that we've proven with Volley, because we do that. We allow people to sign up very quickly. Some of them can sign up in around 30 seconds, and then they're underway, and then they're able to find those opportunities and start applying and get started on developing your next fundraising strategy, or building your new app, or running your e-newsletters for the next few months. So it's a huge thing that we need to address, and we need to reduce that amount of time, because it will deter a lot of people, and there's a missed opportunity there to engage those particular professionals. And we can still get an understanding of what are the skills you have on offer, what is it about our organization that made you want to apply, but we can streamline that through things like drop-down options and capture the information. When we're able to do it online, obviously all of that information can feed into our CRM, and we have that data. We're then able to segment our communications to this audience and so on. So there's a lot of stuff we can do there, and we can talk about that in a little bit more detail at the end with questions. But I wanted to put that in because it's such an important part if we're going to engage highly talented people to support our organizations. That first step, that onboarding, that initial communication with them, it has to be streamlined to keep them excited and enthusiastic. So online volunteering is good for everyone. For volunteers, they get to test and expand their knowledge and their skills. They get to practice their skills in a more challenging industry. There is no question that the for-purpose space, for-purpose organizations like you, we typically have limited resources. We have to think a little bit more creatively. We have to think outside the box. We have to have our innovative hats on to address certain challenges, problems, opportunities in a way where we know, well, we don't have a huge amount of money to do a big marketing campaign here. So how are we going to reach the largest audience possible to reach our $200,000 fundraising target for our winter campaign? Modern day professionals want to get involved in these sorts of challenges and be innovative and allow their entrepreneurial skills to come in, to develop those skill sets. Building Volley over the last 3 or 4 years, for the vast majority of the time, we've been building this business off a very limited budget, and we've needed to think creatively. That's incredibly hard, but it can also be a lot of fun, and it can set a really exciting challenge to anybody that wants to get involved in online volunteering, and particularly Gen Y and Gen Z. I keep coming back to this audience because it's the audience that Volley has been engaging over the last 3 or 4 years. It's the audience I know incredibly well, and what Gen Y I thought did better than anyone else, Gen Z now have an even greater appetite to do. Every Gen Z these days has that entrepreneurial spirit, whether they want to go and work for a big business and be that entrepreneur within an organization, or they want to start their own startup or not for profit. That entrepreneurial spirit, that desire to do things differently, is a really, really appealing thing to the modern day workforce. And those challenges exist every single day within our organizations. And with all of that said, I suppose just that final bullet point on volunteers, it's easier to practice innovative methods and ideas within the not-for-profit space. There can be a lot of red tape, and sometimes there's a bit of there's certain processes to go through for an organisation. But if we think about big businesses, and I've worked in them, I'm sure some people on this call have as well. There's a lot of paper pushing. There's meetings about meetings about meetings. There's the opportunity within our organizations to just try to streamline that process as much as possible. So if someone comes in with a great marketing idea or a new technology solution which can revolutionize the way our businesses operate, yes, we need to go through the necessary process and due diligence and liability and risk and thinking about it from a legal point of view. But once we have that covered, we should just be able to go for it, and we should be able to fail, take risks and fail. Having grown a startup over the last 4 years, you've got to be prepared to fail. We've got to encourage failure, because it means that people are pushing the boundaries, and this is what the modern day workforce want to do. And if they can do that with your organization, then it's a really exciting partnership and collaboration. So for your organizations, charities, not-for-profit, social enterprises, generally purpose-driven businesses, why is online volunteering a good idea? Well, you can tap into a global talent pool. Through Volley, we've got 100,000 plus skilled volunteers, and we've got them predominantly in Australia at the moment, because that's where we've grown our organization. That's where we've done a lot of our communications. But we have skilled professionals in the UK, in the US, in parts of Asia, in New Zealand. It doesn't matter where that talented person that you need is, you can connect with them. There might be a time difference, but you're able to connect with a highly skilled person who, again, works around their busy schedule with an online volunteering project, and is able to engage with your business. So not just within your town or your city or your state, right across Australia and potentially right across the world, you can engage with the talent you need through online volunteering. Streamline communication. So this is talking a little bit more specifically with Volley, but all messaging is inbuilt within the system. So that's accountable. You're able to communicate with your volunteer in a really fast and easy way, and track that communication as well, just to ensure, okay, well, I thought I did ask for this particular document yesterday, and you can track back and be able to see that. So it's all possible through online volunteering. The accountability for work, this is what I was speaking about before, and I just want to drive home this point as well. And this is really, it's more about project-based volunteering versus that ongoing volunteering. Whatever that task might be, it would be wonderful to keep a highly skilled marketing professional as a volunteer with your organization for the next few years. But I'm telling you, through my experience and through a great deal of conversations, if you set that person a clear task, a clear project, it can be a month or so, it can be 3 to 6 months, but a clear requirement with clear objectives that they need to achieve, and then they're done. Then they get their letter of recommendation, they get their reference, which they really do want from you, by the way, which we should absolutely be providing, and the task is complete, and they've supported that organization, rather than that professional just kind of hanging around and continuing to work with your organization, and perhaps that relationship fading a little bit. And lastly, trackable impact, dependent on obviously the solution that you provide. Again, with Volley, we're very focused on trackable impact. The volunteer wants to see that. They want to see the money that they've saved you, the lives that have been impacted, whatever that might be. But the businesses particularly want to see the impact that's being generated working with your organization. And we need to show that, even if it's top level. It doesn't need to be a big in-depth report. Let's be honest, we don't have time for that. But just to report, just to say through your business and your 30 staff working with our organization over the last 8 weeks, you have saved our organization $28,000. You have impacted the lives of 320 children that we support through this particular program. Whatever that might be, highlighting those outcomes is really important. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about my organization now, Volley, and how we've progressed to date. So what I've developed over the last 4 or so years is a skilled online volunteering marketplace called Volley. It's volley.com.au, where we are looking to change the way in which people can volunteer. Back in 2015, when I wasn't fulfilled, when I was volunteering myself, this is the platform I wanted, being someone that didn't have a huge amount of time to find opportunities, but I just wanted to identify opportunities that aligned with the skills I had and the causes that I really cared about. And there was no solution in this country, and there still isn't, that focuses on online volunteering. So we built this marketplace, and our vision is to see the world's biggest problems solved through skilled volunteering, and we think that is absolutely achievable. My mission and the mission of Volley is to advance volunteering into the digital age. Speak to the way in which modern day professionals want to give back and allow them to do that around their busy schedule. So that if they've applied for a project with your organization, but then they're going overseas in a week's time, they can still complete that task remotely. It doesn't affect your organizations and the objectives that you have. So now I'm just going to show a couple of videos that highlights Volley in a little bit more detail. So the first video is actually our brand new brand video. We've got a new system, Volley 2.0, launching in just a few weeks, and this video sums up what that platform's all about for all users, for you as charities and not-for-profits, for volunteers, and also for businesses and universities. So I think this first video will give you a really good idea of where we're going with this platform. The second video is more of an explainer video, just getting down to how Volley can work for your organization. So right, should be able to hear the sound now. Okay, so that was the first video. So that just sums up Volley and what we can do for various different users of our platform. Talking specifically about your organisations. So one of the new things with our platform is project blueprints, as we're calling them. So we have spent close to a year developing a library of pre-scoped projects, essentially pre-written project briefs, because we know that you as leaders within the not-for-profit sector have limited time, and if you can just jump in and click on the category that you need some assistance with, and then click on a pre-scoped project for a CRM creation or app development or a content creator, whatever that might be, and post within a few seconds, it's going to save you a great deal of time. So we have that. We've got inbuilt messaging, file sharing, and so on, and lots of other stuff there. There'll be some details at the end of this webinar for anybody who wants to get in touch, and if there's any questions about that as well, please let me know. So the next video I'm going to show is just a little bit more about what Volley is and how we work with your organization, essentially. So this is just a minute and a half video.
Profit or social enterprise has a task, but no one on the team fits the bill. Lynn in HR isn't so good at graphic design, and Dan in accounts definitely can't animate a video. That's where Volley comes in. We've created a database of professionals that can do just about anything, from providing legal advice to custom illustration, from building websites to making children's costumes. We can guarantee you the right person for the job every time. Ever seen a pirate princess costume? Our skilled volunteer, Miranda Dix, made that happen. Being a pirate princess never looked so good. We manage the needs of your project in 3 simple steps. Step 1, our account managers look at your organizational needs and help turn them into projects. Step 2, from there, we match your project with one of our highly skilled volunteers. These passionate professionals work remotely across the globe. We find you the right person for the job every time. Step 3, we deliver you a completed project that will have you smiling from ear to ear. Also, each project you post on Volley generates an average skilled volunteer value of $1,000 for your organization. Volley has no lock-in contracts or hidden fees. Volley is designed to be fast and effective. Create an account, purchase the projects you need, and then we'll be in touch to turn your organizational needs into completed tasks. So create an account, try Volley today, and enjoy the benefits of skilled online volunteering.
Okay. So I've just had a look at the time, and it's racing ahead. So I'll just quickly wrap this up. So we've got a bit of time for questions. So our impact to date at Volley. So we've seen around 1,400 projects completed through our platform, 55,000 skilled volunteering hours, and we've saved the current around 700 charities and not-for-profits on Volley over $1.2 million, money that they otherwise would have spent, as I mentioned before, $20,000 building a new website, $3,000 on a lawyer, whatever it might be. So we really are designed to save your organisation money. Our charities are spread right around the world, primarily within Australia, but in 15 different countries outside of Australia. We work with a growing number of businesses and leading universities, feeding into our talent pool, ensuring that more charities and not-for-profits are able to connect with the talented people they need. And this one, you don't actually need to take this final poll, but let's just take this into the questions. And that is, what are your main organizational challenges over the next 12 months? And if we don't have time to answer, or if I don't have time to answer all of the questions now, here's my email address, matt@volley.com.au. Please get in touch. I'm happy to share any more information about Volley, or even just more generally, any assistance I can provide with your organisation. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thanks so much, Matt. We do have a few questions that have come through during the session, but I encourage people to continue to ask them as well. We've got a bit of time here for questions now. One question Faylene had was around, I guess, the trends that you see Gen Y and Gen Z on your platform, about what kind of volunteering opportunities they're really interested in and looking for. Is it planning and decision making opportunities? Is it marketing? Is it, particular skill sets? Where are you seeing the trends, I guess, from your platform?
Yeah, well, the good news is it's very broad. It can address any organizational challenge that you have, really. With Volley, we see a lot of interest in tech, so it can be website, app, it can even be things to do with perhaps your Salesforce system. Generally, people just wanting to be IT consultants on a particular project for your organization to help you review and improve current systems and processes that you have. And this can involve your volunteer onboarding process. It could be the way in which your team communicate and how that can be better and more efficiently done through technology. It can be how you market yourselves as well. We get a lot of skilled volunteers who want to do the marketing, fundraising, creative kind of stuff, graphic designers and copywriters and so on. But we have people who are passionate about data. I couldn't think of anything worse to spend, 10, 20, 30 hours, reviewing data or looking at trends and opportunities within the data. But there's people who love to do that. We've got also skilled volunteers who like to work on larger organizational challenges, work on your 5-year business plan and so on. So it goes pretty broadly, and different people are passionate about different things.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have sort of quite an age range as well? I mean, you mentioned this sort of Gen Y, Gen Z, but do you see sort of a diverse age range of people now being attracted more to online volunteering? I guess particularly as we're now coming out of, COVID-19, a lot of people are spending a lot more time online for their own work and their own lives. What's the trend here in terms of ages, and the type of people that are being attracted to this?
Yeah, typically it's been 20 to 35-year-olds. So that's been the core age range for Volley. So 25 to 34-year-olds have always been around 50% of our audience, and 18 to 24-year-olds, and that covers university students as well, are coming onto the platform more and more. So that accounts for a great deal of our audience. But the current trends we've seen, particularly in the last few months, a lot of people losing their jobs, but still what they want to keep their skills relevant and they want to make a difference. And I think it's amazing. I think the level of empathy that we've seen through Volley in the last few months when people are in very challenging situations has been great. And that's actually seen the 35 to 44-year-old bracket, or even the 45 to 54-year-old bracket as well, get more involved with the platform with obviously fantastic skills, a great level of experience. So those age groups have grown for Volley through COVID, adding to the primary sort of Gen Y, Gen Z audience.
Yeah, great. I've now got a few questions coming through about the Volley platform itself as well. Teresa and Kieran have both mentioned, I guess, one of the hardest parts of their onboarding process is one for one organisation working with children checks, and the other is around doing the, work health and safety, legal sign-off, induction, all of that kind of stuff. So how does Volley help facilitate that onboarding process? Is the platform help facilitate that, or is that something you sort of take offline, or etc.?
Yeah, we absolutely help. And one of the most refreshing things for me that I learned early on in the Volley journey was that when volunteering is online and remote, it actually removes quite a lot of the liability. Our experience in terms of working with children checks and police checks, rarely used through Volley, but when they have been used, it's often been when people have been coming into access of sensitive information, data, and so on. So if you do have a data scientist, for example, looking at ways to utilize your data in a more efficient way, you might want to work in with Children Check or a police check there. Police checks are organised through the platform. We've got a third-party provider who provides a discounted rate, and our skilled volunteers just purchase those and go through the check prior to starting a project on Volley, if that's the requirement of the charity or not-for-profit. Working with children checks are a little bit different, as a lot of you would know. State by state, they run differently. So what we do is provide all the information that people need, regardless of what state you're in, to get you working with children checks. So we do help to facilitate it, but I guess all I would say is that let's get the volunteers excited, onboarded, and connected to an opportunity, and then solve the necessary paperwork requirements of getting that working with children check or police check. You know, first and foremost, if the person's talented, they're available, let's begin that onboarding, and then of course go through the necessary checks, just to keep them excited and not to put too many barriers in front of them.
Yeah, great. That makes sense. I have a question here from Sandy. She's asked about how you allocate the best volunteer for the task. Is that something that Volley automatically does, or is that something that the organisation has a say in? And, you know, can the organisation read about what the volunteer's done in the past, previous tasks, or their history as well?
Yeah, so in terms of selecting the right volunteer, it's up to you guys as leaders of your organisation. So you might post a project for a style guide, maybe a branding document or whatever it might be, and you'll have 8 applicants there. You choose the best person you want. You can see their professional experience on Volley. You can see messages that they've sent you highlighting why they think they're great for the role. You can click through to their LinkedIn profile to see that professional experience. And Volley has charity account managers who can help you make that decision. So whether you want to speak to Will or Lucy, they can help you to choose the best person for the project. Once you've selected, usually there's 2 or 3 that stand out, and we recommend that you run it like an interview process, really, where you just get to know them. You jump on a video call and just understand their motivations for the particular project. But yeah, you as the organisation select the best person you want with all the information available on Volley, and the human factor as well, and the people, the charity account managers at Volley to assist, who are always available to answer an email.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Sandy says thanks as well. I've got a question here from Maxine. She says they're a not-for-profit that already tracks their volunteer records, hours, and impact through their own CRM system.
Right.
So how does Volley work in with this? You know, is this data stored in Volley? Can it be exported? How does that work in terms of, I guess, transferring it over, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Well, Volley you would utilize as a platform to post requirements that your organization has. People will apply for those projects. We'll store those skilled volunteers within the Volley platform. So it's housed within Volley. In terms of exporting, it's something that we can do if it's something that your organization would like. We do the impact tracking with every single project, so we can highlight that to your organization. But I suppose with this particular question, it's great that you're tracking volunteers and hours and so on. So we just like to think of Volley as that one-stop shop for your organization to post all those requirements, so that you aren't being inundated with queries from volunteers to say, well, I've got marketing skills, I want to get involved in here, I'd like to do a project in this particular area. You can simply say, well, yeah, head to our personalized page on Volley that houses all of your opportunities, then and all of our opportunities are listed there for you to apply for. And then should you wish to continue those conversations with the volunteers, you can be on the Volley experience and of course bring that data across to your organisation if you wish, or continue to use Volley.
Yeah, brilliant. And does Volley support organisations listing face-to-face volunteering opportunities as well, or is it just online opportunities?
Yeah, we can. Like the vast majority, almost every single opportunity on Volley to date has been online, but we can list the face-to-face opportunities, just specifying within that project listing the region that the person needs to be in, and that this is a face-to-face opportunity. And from our university and our corporate partners, they're wanting to see a little bit more of the face-to-face with the Volley experience, mostly online. That works really well with them, but a little bit of face-to-face is of interest as well. So yeah, you can post those opportunities just as long as it's specified that this is an in-person volunteering opportunity.
Wonderful. And I think last question probably for today that we've got time for is kind of the money question. Mary asked, does it cost the volunteer organisation anything?
Yeah, just small fees to use Volley, just pay per project, so nothing on sign up, no hidden fees or anything. You just create an account and then purchase project credits. One project credit is $49, 2 are $79, 3 projects are $99, and a 5 project pack is $149. There's no time limit on using these projects. We charge these small fees to cover our charity account managers. Volley isn't a job board. When your organisation signs up, we get in touch, we can run a workshop to understand your requirements. We work with you throughout that process so that if you're having any challenges with a volunteer or any questions, we're available, and we essentially ensure that every project is seen through to completion. So we charge those small fees just to cover, as I say, our charity account managers and ensure that the process is really positive for you. It's my personal experience that volunteer breakdown, that breakdown in communication between the charity and between the volunteer, is one of the biggest frustrations in the not-for-profit sector. When you have somebody fantastic and they seem to drop off the face of the planet, and you've got a half-finished website or a partly done piece of work that a graphic designer was supposed to do, it's very, very frustrating. So we're there to ensure that each project is seen through to completion. If for some unforeseen circumstance a volunteer can't complete that project, we can source another volunteer that can. So we're just there every step of the way with you.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and I think that's really great when you're talking about some quite complex volunteering opportunities sometimes too, like, you know, website development and marketing, and people can really get value out of that, almost like, you know, you compare that to cost of an actual consultant coming in and doing those things. I think there's real value to what you guys offer. So we do have
Sorry, Chloe. On
yeah.
average, a project on Volley, it saves an organisation about, on average, $1,700. It often goes a lot higher when we're building websites and stuff. It's like 10, 20,000. So very small upfront fees, which are less than an hour of that person's time, but it just means we can build more into the offering, and it's not just a post and keep your fingers crossed and hopefully it works out. It's like, no, we will ensure that these requirements are completed.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and I think it's really valuable to have that support throughout the journey as well. Like you said, you know, it's not just a post and hope for the best. I think it's supporting to ensure that project completion is great value that you guys offer. So that's wonderful. That is, I guess, we've got a few more questions coming through, but I would encourage you guys to email Matt. As you can see his email there on the screen, and ask your questions and follow up further as well from today's session. Before we wrap up, Matt, is there anything else you'd like to add in before we finish up today's session?
No, just it's been a pleasure. I'm shocked with how quickly it went. I'm sorry, I was trying to keep it to around 30 minutes, but the first time I looked at the time was when the videos were going, and I was like, oh, there's 10 minutes to go. So any more questions? Great that there's more questions coming through. Please don't hesitate to send me through an email. I am sadly glued to my laptop for pretty much all my life, doing a million things with volleys. So I'm pretty responsive on emails. So send me through your queries, how the volley team can work with your organisation. We've just gone crazy since COVID. Applications are up like 400%. There's a lot of new businesses coming on board. The talent pool's just growing. So I just encourage all of you to give online volunteering a try through Volley. We'd love to support your various different requirements. We've got a lot of hungry, skilled volunteers looking to get involved. So yeah, just looking forward to touching base with various attendees of this webinar afterwards.
Wonderful. And thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time to present. You're incredibly involved in, obviously, Volley's growth, and it's wonderful to hear your story today about where Volley's come from, and it's come from your own passion for volunteering, wanting to change this sector. So I think it's really wonderful, and you've provided some great insights for everyone today, and I think enlightened a lot of people as to the possibilities of what online volunteering can look like in the future. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone else for their time today and some great questions that have come through. As mentioned, please do email Matt afterwards if you want to follow up with him directly. And please do also complete the survey that will pop up at the end of this webinar, and leave your feedback there for us too. We'd love to hear from you today as well. So thank you everyone for attending. We will send out a copy of the recording and the slides shortly after this session today. I hope you all stay safe, enjoy the rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you at another webinar soon in the future. Thank you, Matt. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.